Good evening. Welcome to Auroville Festival, edition 2023. This year, Auroville Festival's theme is the first quality of Mother Symbol, that's sincerity. And today, being the fourth day of the festival, it is dedicated to Mahasaraswati. And the quality that we are commemorating is perfection. And in this session of City Conversation, today we have chosen the subject of cultural zone. We have Sonali with us, Soumya and Pierre, to discuss the cultural zone. And in this session, we shall delve into the call towards perfection and explore the aspects of the cultural zone that can foster the culture of perfectibility, which is a central quality of Mahasaraswati. Will the cultural institutions and research centers related to education, arts, and sports that are planned to direct us to develop our inner capabilities to constantly strive to become perfect? We will reflect on building a culture of perfectibility amongst ourselves at an individual level and collectively. So the format of the conversation is such that we look at a larger aspect of the galaxy plan, and this particular session, it's the cultural zone. So what is the why aspect, no? The aspirational aspect, why the cultural zone was set up? And slowly, I would like you to kind of reflect upon it, and then we go into the more on the aspects of how do we manifest it? What are the routes that we can take to reach that pinnacle of ours? And finally, we will end it up with, let's say, the what aspect, the practical things that we need to manifest to ensure we somehow get there. So that's what I'm looking forward to have a conversation about. And I would like you to, when we are talking about this cultural zone, I would like you to also reflect from two perspectives. One is, what do we want as Auroville to achieve collectively with this cultural zone? And what is it that we can get individually? So may I invite Pierre to begin?
We are in a certain situation today in Auroville. So I found a kind of, excuse me, it will take 1 minute or two. I found a parallel with what the mother said about Auroville, that it will be the Tower of Babel in reverse. Mm-hmm. So if you know the history of the Tower of Babel in the Bible, people came from all over the world to build something as high, so high to reach heaven. But for some reason, in the process, it became chaotic because as the different people spoke different language, they could not agree. So I found that funny that in Auroville, we all speak more or less English, and we have been managing to create a real chaos in spite of our common language. So what is it that will make us a little more unified? And I realized that was what the mother gave us. At least she gave us a plan and something which could unite us. And that we have to realize that that's because we have lost track of it, that we are in this present situation. So it's time to go back to a certain humility and a certain dedication to the mother, and to believe that she was right, you see? So as also speaking of the chaos, it's a lack of communication. And I was amused recently to see that people, there are people who don't want anything, but some agree with the crown. But why a perfect circle? Why can't we make a little dent here or there? So also that's the beauty of geometry, that when you say I want a square of 10 by 10, everybody knows what it is. If I want to make a circle of 1 kilometer radius, it's clear for everybody. But when you start to want to design like a potato shape, then everybody can also have his own opinion. So at least geometry is beyond opinion. So we are at a stage where it's time to reassess a certain discipline, let's say. For example, I have also another image. If you have 22 people with a balloon, they don't know what to do. You give them the rule of football, and suddenly they can play. So there is a rule of the game. So actually, we came here to play a certain game. We have invited people to play football, but people they pretend to play basketball on our football field. So we are at let's say at a stage of maturity now. We have to. Well, I don't know if I reply to you, but.
Yeah, and individually, what do you think it's? How can cultural zone provide us that aspiration?
But individually, the best thing we can do is to attune to the mother and to for example, mother ask some people to read and read Aurobindo, and that's one thing we forget. I'm quite sad that many Aurovillians don't read Aurobindo, and we have to realize the beauty, the depth, the incredible inspiration that we can get from Aurobindo's writing. So there is no escape. We cannot build Auroville unless we make a certain effort, a certain sadhana, and that was part of the first chapter of the charter. We have to be the willing servitor of the divine consciousness. If we pretend to do according to our ego, according to our fancy, we cannot make our will. It's impossible. And maybe it's because we have wandered too long in that semi-obscurity that we are still at this stage after 55 years. So it's time I hope that some people will start to realize the real challenge. It's time. So individually, we shall speak of that later. Now, what could be a cultural field?
Correct. Yeah, you touched some crucial points. We'll come back to it. Soumya, so what are your thoughts on building like he said, if you can build upon that, building a culture of, willing servitorhood, no?
Hello, everyone. I read this beautiful quote which says, new art announces a new world. And the definition of a new world differs culture to culture, differs in every country. But the new world has been given to us as a present in the form of the charter, in the form of the dream, and in the form of the galaxy plan. We have something very, very profound to aspire for. So whatever we create, the art we create, the ideas we create, all aspects of our life here has that vision, has that very glorious aspirational quality attached to it. So that already for me is when we speak about cultural zone, and when you speak collectively or individually, it is attached to that aspiration. And that's what's most exciting to be here. This is why we are here, and it's something so new and something so revolutionary. And this, for me, there is no doubt, no? This is this is the most exciting time I could from my heart, I could say that it's an exciting time in humanity to be here at such a time in this kind of a project. So that's one thing. And what was your other, you had another thing, another point?
No, I mean, if you can look at it, why cultural zone?
Yeah, because...
From collective, what's according to you, and you, if I'm not wrong, you also live there.
Yes.
So how
I
do you...
live there, I work in that space, and for me, it's a very beautiful amalgamation of all that, the schools, the playgrounds, the artists who live there, the music. But I think we are just at a very beginning stage of what it can be, the grandeur of it. The grandeur of it is that it will be kind of a portal for creativity, for exchange with the world, exchange amongst us. And it's so fascinating that we are building a city where this aspect of culture is given so much importance to, aesthetics is given so much importance to, and the subtlety of things, no? Because the world has all kinds of art. They all express different aspects of humanity and life, but I find the way, even in regards to the ashram, I'm always overwhelmed every time I go there with the aesthetics, no, that energy it carries, this soft, beautiful bubble. And for me, cultural zone is a wonderful, magical bubble of the whole city. And the one thing I would like to say is, it would be nice in the future to have all age groups more involved in that zone. Because in practicality, when I live there, the kids go to school there, I see a lot of wonderful parents bringing their children, they have their activities, but more and more it should be a space for all age groups of Oroville, that they come and interact and experience the space for which we are going to build a city and make this possible. And
Thank you.
Thanks.
Sonali, if you can also reflect on the individual and collective aspiration of cultural zone. And also, Mother somewhere wrote a quote, no, Oroville will be known through its arts. And right now, along with it, it's also known for its architecture. And you being an architect, how do you look at this cultural zone?
Actually, Mother described cultural zone as a place where children would grow integrally, develop and grow integrally without losing contact with their souls. And also a zone where beauty in all its forms, like painting, sculpture, literature, performing arts, anything would be accessible to all equally. So I think that is the essence of cultural zone, and it's not just in terms of buildings, but in terms of what we see as a city, like spaces which are outside the building, spaces in between, where we move around, and all this debate of, whatever we are talking about right now, whether it's Crown Road or anything. So the aspect of beauty and the integration of everything is very important. And it's actually, if you see the galaxy plan, cultural zone is one zone which actually penetrates closer to Matru Mandir. It comes inside. And the way the progression of school is also planned is that the younger ones are very close to Matru Mandir. They are really in contact with the soul. And the older ones actually progress towards outer perimeters. And then it culminates into vocational training and apprentice, and finally culminates to Siru, which is actually the intersection of international zone and cultural zone. So for Mother, cultural zone and international zone were not completely different. So like Pierre talked about, international zone is also zone of international culture. So culture and international zone, both are actually in the same axis, one on the east and one on the west. So even if there are zones, because I see a lot of debate of why there were zones. So there are the contact of the zone and how the zones are progressed and fusing into each other is also very important. And the layout of these schools and layout of the progression of how one is developing through this zone is actually described and planned very well in Galaxy. And if you see the physical aspect of the plan, this is one zone where everything looks integral, fused, even in terms of physical planning. In terms of buildings, you can't separate anything out of it. It actually fuses together as one mass. So somewhere we have to read that and interpret what is meant from all of those lines and what Mother is talking about.
Yeah. Okay. Pierre, if I can come back to you on what you said. You mentioned about this new language. You mentioned about the necessity for a discipline. A nice reference between a circle and a potato. What defines culture, by the way? I would like to know when we say cultural zone, if we have to define, I do not know, how do we like you are perhaps one of the well-known artists from Auroville. But in Auroville, we might have different styles and things like that. But when we go out, people, oh, you are Auroville artist, or you are from there. Even for architects, for that matter, oh, Auroville architect. There is something there. So, what, according to you, defines the culture of Auroville, and how can we kind of look into the positive aspects and build on it?
You see, we had an exhibition of Auroville art in Delhi, in the IIC, and for the, I forgot which year. It was the 50th anniversary, I think. 50th anniversary.
2012.
2012. And so it was quite successful. Many people came. And when art critics said, oh, that's good, it could be anywhere else, no? It could come from anywhere else. And the Aurovillian artists, they took it as a compliment, and they took it as an insult, because we are definitely meant to bring something else. If
Yes.
it is to make the same art that you see anywhere else,
Yes.
it has no use.
Mm.
Now, to come back to the definition of culture, you see, a culture can be done around a certain common aim, a common goal. And we have been given that goal from the mother. We are here for the transformation of the physical, transformation of the body. So unless this is our prime priority,
Yeah.
it won't go. So that is, sometimes I see there are many artists in Auroville, and some are very good, but sometimes I look at it, say, but in which way it helps me to go closer to this transformation. And sometimes I cannot see that at the same time it's a very good art. It could be exhibited anywhere else, but I cannot explain also. I cannot define, because that will be the worst to say the new Auroville art is like this, like this, like that, and forget it. You see, we don't know. We are going towards the unknown, but there is. I believe each of us are more or less responsive to this new vibration. I believe some of us can feel something in the matrimonial, and this is unique. You see, and this type of thing. When I remember when I was still in the ashram, and when I used to go to Auroville, when we climbed the road on cycle, and there was far from us we could see the roof of La School. God, it was like going to how to say, space odyssey. You know? It was incredible, the joy to see that we are building something of the future. It's not something here.
Yeah.
So somehow, if we could define the culture of Auroville, it's something which will bring this future. Something which we don't know, but we feel that it's not like something we have seen already. I remember I had an exhibition in Paris in a salon, and many people who came, but that's another planet. It was another planet, and they could feel it. So we are here for that, to manifest it, and there is no shortcut. We have to do yoga, meditation, and work, and things. And the only way also to know where we go is from experience. You see? I said in the previous section, I read something this morning about from Mahasaraswati. He was somewhat frustrated, but with seeing the mother, he did not have any vision or experience. And she told him, but I don't work like that anymore. I work with vibration. And the Supreme works with vibration on the physical. So we have to have those experiences of vibration. And then this is what we have to experience. And how to be guided, we have only one guide, is the inner soul. We know, I need to go like this, like that. We cannot listen to others. We cannot relate to normal criteria. So we are alone. See, that's it, when we say it's a collective, but you see, I believe for many artists, it's a very, very individual quest, especially a painter. A painter is a master of solitude, no? So what will bring those art together is not necessarily from the artist to do that. We need another type of person.
Correct.
In the West, it's gallerist or curator, I think. Those have to have the vision to make. But the artist has no choice but to do his own thing.
And to just add on to that, what do you think is when you say we need to develop this culture where we can say that it's not from anywhere, it's from here, what is the role of discipline and a pursuit of perfection? I would not say perfection itself, but perhaps if we can look at do you think if we can look at an oral artwork or any building or any creation, and we see there is this devotion, there is this dedication, there is this discipline applied to that, irrespective. It's not a shoddy work. And then there is this pursuit. Somebody took extreme care to make sure it is beautiful, it is perfect. What is the role of building our culture? Like
I said, see, when you speak of dedication, work, and the perfection, it could fit for many things, see, unless there is also a really inspiration from the future. It will not be Aurovillian. You see, so we have to see that we can be good craftsmen, we can be good artists, good architect, whatever. But unless there is this kind of this touch of the new, it's not there. I said something in the previous session, which I could repeat because it's not too long. You see, when I was in the ashram, I heard the Sarod concert, and for some reason I could not hear any music, but I could see only colors. So I came back to my house and I started to do these colors. And after I went around Auroville to speak with different artists, and I was surprised to see that there were 5 artists, including me, which had touched something very similar. It was, I couldn't believe. There were some which were abstract, some were figurative. But for some, it was the same style. We had put these 5 artists in one room and saying, this is the school of Pondicherry. It would have been really a success. And unfortunately, it did not last because others went on different direction. But that's culture, something that it's not imposed by a nomenclatura. But Aurovillians have their own experience, and they meet at this deeper level without even knowing. And those people didn't know each other. So that was really beautiful to see that. And not only that, but it was similar to what the mother said about the light of the new consciousness. At one point, she said 2 or 3 times in the agenda, it's made of many colored points of pure color, not mixed, but juxtaposed. And that was we have. So, and since that I have continued, I am the only one who have gone on, and I go on and on. But there was someone called Streams. There is a painting of him in André house. Okay. André who makes shoes there. And there is another painting. There is Vaya, who has done a Gayatri, so she has still the Gayatri. And there is one of a certain Michel, which is with François Grenier. So all these are, if we could gather those paintings, at one point in history, there was a common note. And that is, I call, a real collective culture. You see, like the same way the Impressionists, it's not that they copied each other, but it was something of the time, and they found it. It was descending, and they all interpreted it in their own way. So that was it's not the model, because we go into the unknown. But when you touch the unknown and you recognize, it's a real joy. No, and that's it. That's the thing also. Actually, art is about joy. We shouldn't forget that.
Beautiful. So, Soumya, relatively compared to Pierre, we are new to Auroville. So, when you talked about this new world. And then it's for a few of us who look at it and who critique this, and they say, no, it's actually an old model. It's not new. It's 60s or 70s, and it's really dated. So where do we find the aspects of culture in the cultural zone when a lot amongst us think that it is not? It is already a past. It's already in the past. How do we find newness in this evergreen model, if I may put it this way? How do you find inspiration?
You know, when I first came here as a designer, I'm a textile designer, I'm an apparel designer, but the first thing that was incredibly overwhelming, inspiring, mind-blowing, you could say, was those initial days of the pioneers, the architecture of the initial days. No, right. The La School, certain places in Auramodel, of course Matra Mandir, but Matra Mandir is so much more to Matra Mandir. But when I speak purely from a
ICM school,
yes, exactly. I was so impressed and so inspired that this was done, and it was like a revolutionary thing, right?
Correct.
In the barren earth, these kind of ideas that were mushrooming everywhere.
Yeah.
And this is, for me, the culture of Oroville that I'm connected to still now. And funnily enough, this is my personal perception, I might be wrong, I feel after that period there's a slump somewhere. There are not those powerful movements of... I'm purely speaking from a city point of view, what you saw in the time of Roger and the initial days of the pioneers and the architecture and the design. And I don't resonate to many other things after like that. So, funnily enough, that is much more contemporary than everything else that has been done after that, from my opinion. I find it rather strange. I think that kind of visionary development of creativity, art, and product design, I think we have to kind of revive it. I feel kind of sorry to say that in a way, because I feel like, oh my gosh, maybe we kind of slipped it away or it went away, but it's not, because the spirit of Oroville is much more grander than that. But I feel I go back to that for inspiration, even today. So for me, all of that, including the galaxy, including the charter, what a revolutionary, extremely futuristic piece of art, in a way. Look at that. I mean, these are things that are way beyond what has been presented elsewhere in any medium or any philosophical thought. And for me, there is another aspect. When I started working, especially when I first came back, I was always working. It was almost by an accident. I ended up working in Matra Mandir with oroculture for a while, with flowers, and somehow the flowers became a part of my collection as a student of design. And after the break in Europe, when I came back, the flowers kept calling me, The flowers had this... So I started working with a lot of flowers, colors from flowers, understanding the use of the beauty of flowers. And of course, I'm extremely attached to Mother's significance, with the flowers. That's a beautiful... it's for me my cozy spot. And I did that work because it came to me. It was also something I kind of enjoyed. And when I worked on my first collection, and I still remember so vividly, when we did a kind of an exhibition in Bangalore, I remember a few people walking by and saying, wow, this is such an Oroville vibe. And that was quite interesting, because I never thought of it that way, right? And when you step out, you realize there is something, right, that connects us all here. And there is a handwriting we have. Some may be more refined, some may be discovering it, but we do have a handwriting. And that's only going to connect us more, it's going to evolve, it's going to be more exciting. So from that perspective, I think for me, I cannot comprehend the idea that it is outdated. For me, it's beyond my understanding.
Thank you. I mean, to just add to that, I also find sometimes when you are within certain constraints, you can be more creative rather than just giving a blank everything. I find that way Mother has given certain design parameters to work under, and then it is not limiting. In my view, it is liberating also. That you within that that's where you need to find discipline, to be disciplined and yet find perfection. Yes, please.
See, I'll take on you. See, when you speak of the mother and the flowers, that's really an example of a culture. Through her, the flowers became our culture. And they had such an significance. It was so beautiful that there is a realization, transformation. But now the kids, they go out, they learn, and they told us that this is the incredible Latin word and this Latin word. And we lost this psychological connection with the mother's word. And I find it's a pity. I don't know. I don't think we have to learn Latin anymore, but we should.
Yeah.
Not relevant.
Sorry
No, it's true. It's true. But, I mean, I discover it with my work. I speak about it. I share it with my son and the kids around him. So I do feel it will come back. It'll sort of flourish again. You just were asking me something else prior to that. You said something. I kind of...
We both share the same kind of memory. All right.
There was something you said. No. There you go. You were talking about the constraint within the constraint.
Yeah.
But honestly, Lakshya, for me, there is no constraint in it.
Okay.
I don't look at it as a constraint at all. For some reason, it is... I am aware how grand the mother is and how grand her ideas are. What is the constraint? She's given us an immense playground.
Right.
There is no constraint.
Yeah. So it's more our perception rather than
Absolutely.
reality.
I think the other way around. She's opened up our world to something which our small little minds couldn't even comprehend, fathom. And she's given us such a grand scale of possibility.
True.
It's overwhelming. I don't even think I will do justice to any of it in my lifetime, you know.
Correct.
Maybe 5-6 generations or 10 from here might.
Yeah.
In the small lifetime we have, I think we have a humongous playground.
Okay. Coming to, just to add, that's why we also have flower as our symbol, our culture. Sonali, I would like you to kind of take a cue from what she said, the vibe of Auroville. When you design spaces, and you said how this cultural zone penetrates into the peace zone, and you know it's a beautiful thing that even crosses the residential zone. And how do we design places where the kids, the youngsters, also can access the vibes of the artists, of the sports person, of the ones who are adults, and trying to embody the spirit of perfection and discipline? How do we make them connect? And on the other hand, how do we also engage the residents who are next door in the residential zone to come and become part of the cultural zone, to become part of the culture of Auroville? It's not merely meant for few artists and few artisans and few architects. This is something which is part and parcel of culture, is part and parcel of every resident of Auroville, you know. And how do we achieve that nice, you know, overlap between the youngsters and the adults of Auroville?
Actually, a little going back to what you said about when people say the plan is outdated. I feel it's actually very, very futuristic. I don't think anybody will call, I mean, never you will see a plan which is so powerful. And even in the last, 50, 60 years, if you study town planning, you will not see a plan, city plan, designed by any planner which is so powerful. And it has all the ingredients of, everything is already there which we have to decode. So, and Mother has described everything in so detail. So all the cues are there. In terms of design, what happens is when we lose the spirit of adventure and innovativeness, and the ego starts coming in, then you start losing what is already there. And then we actually lose the spirit of collective designing. So the collective spirit should be there. And that is what I think we are losing in the last few years. Like you said, the earlier designs or whatever you found more inspiring. So I think the spirit of adventure, innovativeness, and also the spirit of collectiveness should be there. And I think that is the essence of cultural zone. And it's not actually meant for, obviously, the people who are in cultural zone. Every zone also has, there are two parks in cultural zone. There's on the south side there's Mahalakshmi, and on north side there's Mahakali. So the parks are also kind of transition spaces from one zone to the other. And there are so many things which you can do in these parks, or even on the ground which is actually passing through all the zones, that there could be people who are enjoying morning life in the parks, and people from cultural zone can come together. Or Mahakali Park can be more of the evening life. So many things can be thought about in the same spaces which are already there.
Right.
And what else you were saying, sorry? It's about overlapping the activities.
Yeah.
So I think I think there are tremendous possibilities. It's just that what we lack is actually probably not pushing ourselves to, like you said, today's quality is perfection. Mother also said that never stop staying younger, always strive for perfection. So I think we are getting a bit of like comfortable, we have gone into these comfortable zones and not pushing ourselves harder. Um, Including myself, I also relate to that.
Yeah.
And then it's just that spirit which is actually kind of holding us back. And if we come together and collectively, I think we can all push it together.
If I may just little bit extend your thoughts on that, when you said pushing each other harder, which is such a good thing in a collective spirit, right?
I would say at least push yourself harder.
Yeah.
But I mean, forget about pushing each other because that's kind of difficult. But at least one can try on oneself to strive to whatever maximum limit you can go. But before actually doing that, we kind of fall back into these comfort zones and we revolve around that. And then the collective spirit is kind of receding.
Yeah.
And that is where actually, I mean, we are not meeting each other. We are not talking about these things. What is lacking, is just these conversations and open dialogue. Because there are tremendous ideas, innovative minds, everything. We have all the talent.
Yeah.
And more talent is actually on the way. We don't know. And actually, we are not using the potential the right way. So it's just, I think, like strive for perfection.
Right. Pierre, if I may come back to you, she talked about this whole receding from the ideals, and I want to little bit your thoughts on the education in Auroville, which is a crucial aspect of the cultural zone. And I am aware that you taught in ashram school also long back. Right now we are having this education system in Auroville. Slowly it feels as if we are receding from what it was supposed to be, and we are going towards certification seeking education system, which was totally, it's an opposite direction. Mother said here, we are going somewhere else. How do you look at that? How can we bring back, how can we take a U-turn?
I don't know. See, I was a teacher in the ashram school. And when I look at it, I don't know whether it was the past or the future. Because there was such a joy, such a purity. When I went there, I didn't go to work. I went to see my friends, and we had a lot of fun. And even now, when I cross my old student, they say, Pierre, you remember? It was the most creative part of our life. So that was really joy, education. But it was not real education. Because I had only one constraint, is to do whatever I wanted, but to speak French. So through that, they managed to learn French, and we did a lot of little activities, like theater, dance, and drawing. Now to come back to, but that was, for me, the past. I've been asked 2-3 times to teach art, and I realized I cannot teach art. I don't think art can be taught. I believe I never went to art school, but I used to go to exhibition, to museum, to biennale. The real artists, the real teachers of art are the artists themselves. You see? If you learn how to look, we can learn from all the world art and go further.
Yes.
And there is a bad thing about teachers. Those who know do, those who don't teach. So that's the problem, that you have a lot of teachers who are failed artists. I don't want to say too much about that.
You said already.
So we have to be, so education, you see, you have to, and sometimes I saw a film on Picasso. You see, oh my God, but I didn't feel I was looking at an artist. I felt we were looking at a boxer, no?
Yeah.
So maybe the best education to do art is to learn box or something like, to have the power to break through, you see, it's something. So so we are very far from the little nice new age friendship and beauty. No, art is really a dive in the unknown, and you have to have courage. You have to have courage, and sometimes sometimes it's an incredible solitude because people don't understand. But you have to go on and on, and after some time, especially when they are dead, then they start to recognize it. Like I said before, you see, an artist saying the artist's life is the 99 first years which are the most difficult. So you have to keep that in mind if you fail. No? So I forgot your question, by the way.
In terms of education, how do we get away from the certificate-based schooling?
That we should get rid of it completely. It has no meaning here.
Yeah.
It's a wrong direction. We went wrong at one point.
Would you like to categorically say that it has no meaning in Orwell?
No, it has no meaning. It's not meant. And actually, before those certificates, we had quite a number of young Orwellians who went outside, and they did very well because they had this culture of centered and things. The same thing with the ashram kids. They have no diploma, but they do very well outside because the main thing is to be centered. And if you are centered, you can cope with any situation. Not at the very beginning. You won't be employed just like that, like if you show a diploma, but progressively people recognize your value. So ultimately, is that the only value we have is to be conscious of the inner center, and that's all. That's enough. That's the only thing we need, and we should be open to any challenge, anything. Anyway.
Okay.
Can I add to this?
Yes, please.
I want to add to it because this is the reality of our lives. We have
Correct.
children, same age. This is a tough one for me because somewhere deep inside I know for a fact that it is a compromise. But I also have gratitude for the facilitators, the teachers, the schools, the people who are working there, because they are doing what they can do in their capacities right now, looking after our children.
Yeah.
So there is immense respect for that. But having said that, there is also this question of they are the future of Oroville, no? They are the future of humanity. So if we do not have the courage to sort of try something new, ask for something new, challenge ourselves, then we are already, nipping it in the bud, no?
Yeah.
But for that, we need to develop that courage. And I think somewhere I am also not fully there, right? In terms of, I don't have the answers, or I don't know, should I do this with my child or not? I'm not capable of homeschooling, that I know, my limitations. So there are many of these thoughts come. And in a community, of course, what we could aspire for is we have that collective support then, no? If there are more and more parents who have that. And there are people who are doing it, by the way. There are different types of schools. Not everything is anyways certification and traditional way. But this thought does come across. And at the same time, I also do feel, for me, that's where also when more people come in to live here, things like that also matters. Sometimes you need some things where scale applies. When you have different people from different parts of the world coming to live here, when we are from 2,000 to 5,000, things do change. There is more possibilities. There are more different types of people who are able to contribute different types of skills. So there's also that part. But I think it is a compromise. And I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out. Haven't found an answer. If you find any, let me know.
Well, for me, it's very, very simple and clear. Schools are nice babysitting arrangement for me. So I go drop them. They take care of my kids. So gratitude for that.
It's true.
I hope they don't teach.
Yes, at the same time, but what Pierre said, I really appreciate that because, in the end, you said the artist cannot teach. You have to learn how to look. So that's the thing, no?
Exactly.
To teach your children to have the curiosity to look, to ask.
To learn.
To learn. That's about it. Just to keep them curious enough. So the only thing actually you require from a schooling system is not to dampen that.
Right.
That if that curiosity is alive, it's fine. They'll figure out a way, and it's also our responsibility to raise our children anyways.
Yeah.
So we have to do the part of our role. So, yeah.
Okay. I want to come to your question. I know you are an artist of sorts, and you have this, this knack to go be perfect. And I remember how long you took to start your hibiscus project. When you are trying to build a culture of discipline and perfection, and we are pursuing that, do you think sometimes it's very difficult to see where the perfection ends and the pursuit ends, and where procrastination kicks in? How do we know that this is it, and then no, and then we want to we want to drag on and on and on. And perhaps
Why do you want to know?
because, maybe if he wants to answer, because that's what, in a way, in a larger scale, I feel Auroville is going through for last 55 years, that we don't want to commit a mistake, we want to be perfect, and it is, even the Crown Road, no, right now it's not perfect, let us
Yeah.
You should be able to make all the mistakes in the world.
Yeah.
say that again.
No, I don't have much to say, but we have to see that we are in the unknown. So, I don't know, it was, who said that? A Spanish mystic who say, if you want to go where you don't know, then you should go into the unknown. You see, there is no way. We have to see that we have no idea. Even when you read the Mother, when you read what she say about a Gnostic being, it seems so far, and yet we know that we are going there. We know, but by which way? And sometimes it will be by the most horrible thing that will go faster. You see, it's not to make little sense or good people or good boy and have polite. It's not that. It's to have living soul, and living souls can be. It can be in a gangster or anything, we don't know. And in Auroville, we had quite a few of them at the beginning, you see? And they were really genuinely aspiring, you see? So, let's see, I cannot say, but I don't want to be iconoclastic, but there is a joy in knowing that you don't know where you go, that's all.
So
if we knew where we were going, then it's not adventure anymore. You see, as if asking Columbus in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, what are you expecting? He doesn't know. He's going to. He doesn't know. So that's what I mean by courage. Is to have the courage to not know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So it's a sincere call from Pierre to all the aspiring gangsters to come to Auroville. If you.
I kind of get from where you're coming, because you've seen the process, what I went through prior to creating Hibiscus Heroes. So for me, there is, you see, to seek perfection is a beautiful virtue, no? It's forever. I read long ago, quoting the Mother, it was something like, perfection is, what do you call it? Defined by consciousness, no, in a way. The perfection grows with it, right? That is, so eventually it's that. And for me, it was, there are certain aspects when you're working with matter where you can mentally, intellectually first, things have to work, have to be functional, have to be user-friendly. You have a certain aesthetic style, you stick to it. You make sure that you don't put something into the world that you don't believe. It has to be ethical, sustainable. There are many aspects to it, no? In my case, it's product design. But at the same time, that perfection, the real perfection, is the unknown, is the magic, is what happens when you're doing nothing, actually.
The X factor.
Exactly. It happens when you're not trying too hard, you know?
Yeah, true.
But to get there, you need to have some kind of a discipline. You need to follow some kind of, and to each his own, but I do believe there has to be some clean, pure, kind of a Zen approach, no? You need to clean the floor before you try to make a column, right? It has to have, some preparatory work needs to be done. And the procrastinating part, which I think everybody who's creative struggles, no? It's like, it can take over after a while. It's good and bad. I had a tough time with it because I could go on forever. But I also know that if I have to act, I have to surrender. Because there is a tricky part there, no? When you're procrastinating so much, you think you know how to figure it out.
Yeah.
If I get that, it's perfect. But you don't know. You have to let go, and only then it'll happen. So there was a point for me when I said, I'm ready, even though I'm not ready, and I go into the world. And then that happened. And when that happened, it started evolving, and we went on to, it goes on. And same for the city, same for Auroville, same for everything we do here. It's going to be forever evolving. So it's just that let's get a bit disciplined.
Yeah. And surrender. And be accepting of yourself and allow yourself to make mistake.
Yes.
And boldly spring forward.
Yes, and don't make yourself the star of the show.
Well said. Okay, Sonali, maybe if you can build from what she was mentioning about creating a space where it's not in the cultural zone, it's not ghettoized, that this is for this age group, this is for this age group, this demarcation. How do we, and like she said, there is a willingness, and after all, nobody has figured it out, we are all trying. And why not also make a space in a way which is open for parents to also become part of it. And then there is also this concept of never-ending learning, lifelong learning. And why can this place of education not be open to also adults? Why don't we design it in a way that it is not only meant to be used for 6 hours, 5 hours a day? Rest of the time it's lying vacant. Why can't we create in a way that it invites? Right now it kind of fosters skepticism, fear, or what if I open it up, somebody comes and takes this, somebody comes and spoils this, and then we lock it up and we go home. Like for even smallest things like kindergarten having a playground, it is not used in the evening, because it's locked up. So how do we make our spaces beyond? It's not the idea of ownership is not just about little houses and things like that. It's also our workplaces. It's also about our cultural zone. How do we open it up? How do we make it inviting?
It's kind of, I don't know, I don't think there is one answer to something like
that.
that.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, according to you, what do you think? How can we make it possible?
That's the question that Anu is asking. Anu is pushing me to, why don't you open your workshop? I can't. I won't be able to work if someone is watching.
You want to say something about that?
Yeah.
No, it's a tool.
Not when you're working, when you're not working.
Yeah.
But when we are not working, it's even worse because they will sitting unfinished and they will judge it and everything. So it's you have to. There is a moment like creativity, and you are alone with the divine. And when it comes to share, it's something else. You make an exhibition or you arrange your workshop. But I will be very uncomfortable to work in a. I won't be able to work in a plaza with 20 people looking at me. Some artists do that. Some artists do street art.
You're not.
It depends on everybody, no?
Correct.
And what you say about this, why don't we open? I believe that will come, but we are not enough, you see. You have to see that we are isolated, there is a question of security, and all this will happen automatically when you be a coherent living group. No? Now we are still paranoid. There is for example, I had put some sculptures in Citadine, and one sculpture disappeared one day. I didn't know. You see, it's like that. So you have to see that there is a kind of vandalism still.
Are you flattered by it?
Huh?
Are you flattered? People are stealing your work?
I was flattered because Picasso said if people copy me, it means that I'm good. So I said, I have difficulty to giving out my pieces. This was given
involuntarily.
But what is funny, the piece came back 2 months later. So what is funny, when it happened, I did not flip at all. People around me say, what? It's okay, it goes, it has its own life. So we have to see that will happen after. We have to...
Okay. But on the contrary, would you not say that right now we know each other because we are still small? How would it work when we are 50,000? It will even more, we would not know the other person. There will be even more closing up.
When we face that problem, we will get the indication.
Okay.
We have to believe that we try our best to imagine the future. We have to, like in the Tao Te Ching, they said the sage does not fathom mysteries.
Yeah.
We have to keep it as a mystery. We don't know.
Yeah.
That's very important. It's to be pure, actually, it's not to know. I want to say.
Just, maybe Sonali, if you can quickly, not about the future, but about the present. there are so many infrastructure. Perhaps if you look at number of residents in Auroville versus the amount of square feet built area,
You mean collective spaces? Or
collective spaces,
residential
not the
spaces?
residential space,
Yeah.
individual leave it, collective spaces. I think it's huge.
Yeah.
And it's just, we duplicate because I'm not talking about personal individual studios. I'm talking about the spaces, you know, like the Shakti sport. I mean, it's there for, okay. I mean, I like that in the evening adults can go and use it. What if we have spaces, collective spaces for art, where some artists, like, yeah, some of them do not want to, some of them may want to work in front of kids. Need to also.
I think we are, again, I think we are not enough together also. Not just enough, but we are not
Enough together.
enough together.
Nice.
So, and again, there has to be some kind of consciousness when we use these spaces.
Yeah.
And we don't have that collective consciousness still. We have to accept that. And I think somewhere it will come, but I think instead, I mean,
Closer, please.
yeah, I mean, we shouldn't go actually pushing that. It has to come organically, because if it's forced, I think it will become something else.
Yeah.
So consciousness and collectiveness both are actually, I mean,
We need
the
to go
causes
hand
of
in
this,
hand.
I think.
And
we
also
have-
your parting note, because time.
Yes.
So
I
if
think
you have a
I don't-
parting note, and also if you want, if according to you the key aspects, the very recognizable aspects which we need to manifest immediately according to you for cultural zone. Like one comes to my mind is, say, the
I
stadium.
would say even the crown in cultural zone will bring so many things together, because it will bring the spaces outside. The street will become like outdoor rooms, outdoor spaces, and we don't have many of those.
Correct.
We have buildings, and this is where actually what we are talking about, that the ownership and all that will go, because it's actually the city. It's the space which is nobody's.
Right.
So it's actually, we can't even define it. So it's going to be fused between, and I think that is where, I think hopefully the buildings will open automatically when the outdoor actually comes.
Right.
You know, the life will actually push
Happen.
yourself, to open, and all the buildings will start speaking to each other. So that is where actually, the buildings should start relating to each other and not have, their own facades and own zones. So we are actually treating buildings also as our own egos and our own zones.
Correct, yeah.
So once they start speaking to each other, the spaces in between will actually be used more. Everything will start coming together. And hopefully something like simple, like a little road, can bring that,
Very nice.
No idea, I mean, let's hope.
Your final thoughts? Yeah. Yeah, you can go.
No, I was going to.
You mentioned what we can do immediately, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very, I share the similar thought about the spaces and why cannot it be open. There are many people who do not have the space, cannot afford a space, but we have a lot of space where they can come and use. The first thing to really honestly acknowledge is there's lack of faith. Lack of faith, what these people will come and do
Yeah.
in your space, which is not your space.
Yeah.
I'm a bit like, what? I mean, we are very few, so it's
Yeah.
easier now. You're right, in a way. 10 people will come into your space, work
Maximum,
there,
yeah.
in a school after hours or in the kindergarten after hours, they play. What's going to happen? At least open, right? We have such little faith in our own people. We already made rules for it, right? I would say open it, see what happens. Test drive for a month or two.
Yeah.
What's going to happen? Maybe
Exactly.
tarnish
Worst
a
case
wall,
scenario.
break something, then we know at least.
Yeah.
But to already not do it, in a way also reflects where we are. Huh?
Correct.
And the other thing you said, what happens when 50,000 comes, when we're not ready? But you see, this is the thing. It's again reflection of we need to be open on so many levels towards having more people building the city, because all of those elements will help us open up to the fact that this is for the entire humanity.
Wonderful.
So that's my that's my takeaway all the time. No, whenever everything comes, it comes back to me as an individual. Are you ready? Are you ready to let go? First of all, within, around you, and then to invite, no? Because this is that's the beauty in the collectivity, no? That way.
Yeah.
It's so exciting, and yeah.
how do we build a culture where we believe that Auroville belongs to humanity as a whole, not just us? How do we build that culture?
We are doing it.
It takes time. But we go in that direction. We cannot imagine what it will be, but it's just the fact that it's one way also to not to have this sense of ownership. We know that we are, and that's the problem we face today. We speak as if we know that we are going through a crisis today in Auroville, and one of the main things is the sense of territory, ownership. So these will disappear progressively, and have to disappear. But for that, people have to feel a certain security that they leave a house to get another one, so there should be a much more. Now there is some people are desperate to find a place, so they found it. They are really attached to it. But for example, long ago there was a big exodus of French people because they did not like it. So suddenly we are in the opposite situation. There are more houses than people. So it was fantastic. You go from one community, you are like a king. So this happened, and in the future it will happen. But the main thing is to see also that you are not owning a place. You are there. You should feel free to go to another one. There is a kind of, we will have to learn a kind of nomadism. No, you are not attached to it. I personally suffer from that, to be attached to my workshop. I pray that I will be over, but I have not yet reached that stage, you see. But it's clear, that's beautiful. You don't own. No, it's beautiful. When you see what the mother saw for us and what we are going through, it's such. We should have just gratitude. We are just idiots, but she's leading us, and we should surrender more and more. And it's bound to happen. It might take long, like you said, that it might take some generation. I might take a little longer than you, but we know that we will reach there, and it's a total confidence. But everything in the world seems to deny that, and that gives us it. And we have also to learn how to use that denial to get strengthened, to get stronger. For example, I have to admit that since we have this problem since more than 1 year in Auroville, I never had such an intensive sadhana. I never was so creative. Because there is such an anguish, such a prayer, and it translates in creativity. So we have to see that sometimes also the most terrible, apparently, catastrophe or crisis can be a means of growth. No? We have to learn how to see. We should not see from the wrong side, oh, it's terrible. No, it's fantastic. It's hard, but it's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you for this very open, candid, sincere conversation. Thank you, Pierre. Thank you, Soumya. Thank you, Sonali, for taking the time out. And tomorrow, the day is dedicated to Maheshwari. Thank you. And tomorrow, the theme of the day tomorrow is knowledge. And in the city conversation at 4 p.m., we will be talking about the international zone. Thank you very much. Thank you. Nilima, can you please give them a toast of appreciation?